After a win over Arkansas, it is SEC championship time for the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban in Alabama taking on those Florida Gators on Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, 7 p.m. Central Time kickoff. CBS, who have the call on the game. This is the game day preview touchdown. Alabama Magazine. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith.
And I'm Patrick Dowd. And before we start talking about the SEC championship, Stephen, Alabama became the first team in the history of the SEC to win 10 conference games.
Big job there for Coach Saban, his staff, these players. And Pat, this was a season that you really didn't know at first. Would you have a season with the COVID crisis, the COVID pandemic, and people trying to adjust? But you have to give Commissioner Greg Sankey of the SEC a ton of credit. His foresight, pushing the season back to September 26th, and everybody following suit accordingly. And in Alabama, with Coach Saban, with the medical staff, with the team doctors, with the new strength staff of Dr. Ray and David Ballou, everybody followed protocol to be able to have this season, get through the season, and Alabama to go 10-0, the only team to do that. Got to give a lot of credit to Commissioner Sankey and the entire Alabama football program.
Absolutely. A ton of credit has to go to Commissioner Sankey. For one, just not panicking and canceling the season, pushing it back, evaluating the data, and just coming up with a good process to keep things going. And I think that's the whole entire SEC completed. I think he said 69 of 70 games. I mean, 4 months ago, you'd have thought there would have been no season. And it's not over yet. They still have some ways to go. But as of right now, it has to be looked at as a huge success. And I mean, hopefully, maybe this season's evidence of maybe they should keep the 10-game SEC schedule. I know Nick Saban's always been talking about, he's been fielding a bunch of criticism. SEC only plays 8 conference games. Nick Saban saying, we welcome the 10-game regular season. But I mean, we don't care. We'll play whoever.
Well, Alabama finishing the regular season 10-0 on the year. The Crimson Tide, first team in the SEC to do this despite the global pandemic of the coronavirus. Now, when you look at one, Devonta Smith, we all know he's a big-time wide receiver, but Smitty doing work on special teams too. We saw it against Arkansas. Alabama's offense sputtering a little bit in that first quarter, 11 a.m. kickoff. The field conditions not up to par, but Smitty takes an 84-yard kick return to the house to pay dirt, rocking that thing back to them apartments. 84-yard Smitty saying, hey, I can get it done on special teams too.
Yeah, I mean, he was the shot of espresso they needed because they looked a little bit lethargic up until that point, and that's what really got the offense and defense going that game. And I mean, having him on special teams is really just kind of having another opportunity to get your best players the football. I mean, all coaches talk about that. And it's also another Heisman highlight thing where, hey, look at me, he's returning kicks too. Just another thing to add to the highlight reel.
Now, Patrick, do you feel kind of concerned about that also? Because a lot of Alabama fans are going, yay, Smitty on punt return, but I don't want Smitty to get hurt because remember what happened to Jalen Waddle and Eddie Jackson and all of these great players that you put them on kick return, punt return, they get hurt. So it's like you're happy for Smitty, but then you're holding your breath at the same time.
Well, if I remember correctly, I can't remember if Eddie Jackson was hurt on a punt return or not. Maybe you would do it better than me. And Jalen Waddle, that was kind of like, I don't think you could get too hung up on these things because, I mean, every team has got to have, and Nick Saban does this too. You put your best players where you need them, Just get your best players the football, and if Devonta Smith is the best punt returner on the team, then he should be the one back there.
Absolutely, Smitty having a huge year for the Crimson Tide, not just as a wide receiver, but showing you against Arkansas he can do it on special teams as well, as he's right now in the thick of this Heisman race, along with his teammate Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence in there, Zach Wilson of BYU's in there. A lot of different names are in there, but going to this defense, Pat, this was the group that Bama fans thought it was going to see the entire season. Now, of course, it didn't have spring practice. It had to catch itself back up. But against Arkansas, 8 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. Everybody highly active in this game. What a good performance by the defense.
It was a good performance. And for everyone who's been watching these videos recently and listening to me saying, hey, I'm going to wait and see. Got to wait and see until they play, Got to wait and see.
You've been holding your judgment.
I've been holding my judgment, but I was impressed last week. They really got after the quarterback. They really got after Felipe Franks, disrupted him. I think he had to leave the game a couple times. and they held them to 188 yards. But what I was kind of impressed with was how they dealt with tempo, because Arkansas got on the ball, tried to get them into tempo situations, and look how poorly they played week 2 against Ole Miss in their response to tempo. Then when you look at it now against Arkansas, they held them to under 190 yards. So there's definitely improvement. Hopefully they'll carry that over into the SEC championship when they face a high-powered offense like Florida.
The big thing, though, Pat, was the job of Jalen Moody stepping in for when Christian Harris. Christian Harris was injured the first quarter, the first defensive play of that game, grabbing his left shoulder. Now, thankfully, no surgery was needed. He's okay. He's been practicing this throughout this week. Coach Saban saying it will be up to how Harris feels that will determine if he plays in this matchup against Florida. But Jalen Moody, the junior from South Carolina, inserted into the Arkansas game. 7 tackles, shared a team lead. Had half a tackle for loss. A forced fumble, was all over the field. 1 fumble recovery also. So big ups there to one Jalen Moody. But the defense as a whole, a lot better now than what it was back against Ole Miss in week 3 of the college football season.
You can only get better after that.
Absolutely. We move now here, Pat, to the Florida matchup, SEC championship game. We have seen a lot of great matchups between Alabama and Florida in the Nick Saban era, whether it was with Tim Tebow at Florida, with Urban Meyer as head coach. We've seen different matchups since then with Jim McElwain as the Florida Gator head coach. Now you've got Dan Mullen, and offensively, Dan Mullen's always been known for being that savant of an offensive mind, especially with quarterbacks. He had a Tim Tebow in Florida as the offensive coordinator at that time. Now as a head coach, he's been through having Dak Prescott at Mississippi State, had Nick Fitzgerald with the Bulldogs. Now he's got Kyle Trask at Florida. This is a very explosive offense.
Absolutely. He's got another great quarterback in Kyle Trask. I know you can look at their record and look at their struggles, but he really hasn't been the issue. He's 38 touchdowns, I think 3 interceptions, something like that this year. He's been very impressive despite losing some tough games. And Alabama's really going to have to try to do what they did to Felipe Franks last week and try to be disruptive and break down the pocket and bring him down. They can't let him get the ball to Kadarius Toney. I'm sorry, but he's a playmaker in the slot and on the outside. He's a big go up and get a guy and can break down the sideline. But their difference maker on offense when he is on the field is Kyle Pitts. Talk about a dynamic player. He's an absolute mismatch problem. You put a corner on him, he'll win. You put a linebacker on him, he'll win. Alabama's really going to have to zero in on him. They may double team him, but I think we talked about this before, I believe, they may try to look to put Patrick Surtain on him. And when you look at in the past when Alabama's faced dynamic tight ends, I'm thinking back to the 2012 national championship, I believe, 2011 when they faced Notre Dame. They had
D. Milner on Tyler Eifert.
Yes, exactly. Had D. Milner on Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert 6'6", 6'7". D. Miller 6 feet 5'11". It doesn't matter. He's the best technical corner they have, and he did a good job against them. And they may try to do the same with Patrick Surtain.
They may try to do that, Pat. And along with those 2 guys you mentioned, and Toney and Kyle Pitts, also Trayvon Grimes. Yeah. Trayvon Grimes, another big weapon. They also have Jacob Copeland, who was huge on the recruiting trail a couple of years back, chose Florida over the Tennessee Volunteers. But when you look at the Florida defense, coached by Todd Grantham, a blitz mastermind. People think that Jeremy Pruitt was blitz happy in his time with Alabama. Todd Grantham is the definition of being blitz happy. Now,
Grantham, let him loose on you.
The Florida Gators giving up 26.3 points per game. They've had 4 games this season defensively where they've given up at least 35 points. So their defense is going to have to find a way to affect Mac Jones in the pocket, frustrate him, keep him in that area of frustration, but also can it be able to stop the run of Najee Harris? I know former Florida Gator defensive back Jalen Tabor talked to Marco Wilson on social media and said, young man, you're the guy that we want to see, lock up Devonta Smith on the outside. We'll see how that goes. Devonta Smith has been a matchup nightmarish problem for all defenses that faced Alabama this season. But getting into Florida's defensive unit here, they're led by junior linebacker Ventrell Jackson. Ventrell Jackson, 80 tackles to lead the team, 7.5 of those for loss, 3.5 sacks. 3 pass breakups. They have another linebacker and sophomore, Brenton Cox Jr. Here is the negative play guy. Here's the guy that creates all that chaos in the backfield. 9.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 15 quarterback hurries. He leads the team in all 3 categories. So Cox is the guy that if you're Todd Grantham, he's the guy, they're sending him on the blitz and telling him, get home to Mac Jones, get home to Najee Harris, make those negative plays, put Alabama behind the down and distance, force Mac Jones to get frustrated, force Steve Sarkisian to get frustrated, have Alabama's offense not going as crisp as possible. That's Brenton Cox Jr. And then in the secondary, they've got a sophomore defensive back in Kaiir Elam. So Kaiir Elam here, 11 pass breakups, leads the team. He's got 2 interceptions as well. So Todd Grantham, he's got guys on this defensive rotation. He's a blitz-happy guy. The one question will be, can he time the blitzes correctly? Because as you know, when teams blitz Alabama and Bama's able to time it up right, they've got the screen pass coming out of nowhere. Whether it's the screen pass to the running back or a bubble screen to a wide receiver, or Mac Jones can make a check at the line of scrimmage, get Bama into the right call and exploit that blitz coming at it. So for Todd Grantham, you're going to have to time the blitzes, but you can't afford to get overly blitz happy in this game.
No, you can't. I mean, when he does blitz, which is going to be often, he better get back there against Mac Jones, because Alabama's weapons on the outside with Mechie and Devonta Smith, they could really hurt you in man coverage if you don't get back there.
Absolutely, not just those two, Pat. You can look at Slade Bolden, who's a possession type guy. People don't talk much
or Miller
about
Forrestall.
Absolutely, Miller Forrestall, Jaleel Billingsley, but specifically Slade Bolden. This could be a game where he could have maybe 5 to 6 catches for a sneaky 60, 70 yards, and it will get lost maybe on the stat sheet. But this would be a game where Slade could probably have that type of opportunity. But the Florida defense giving up 26.3 points per game. Got to find a way to offset this Alabama offense. But, Pat, the line on this game is 17, with Florida coming off a crushing loss to LSU in the Swamp last week. How do you see this game going as far as the line?
2 weeks ago, I probably would have said Alabama would not cover. But that LSU game, I mean, giving up over 30 points to that offense when Alabama...
I'm trying to figure out, Pat, what's worse, giving up 37 points or Marco Wilson throwing the shoe?
I mean, no comment. Just like Devonta Smith, no comment. But I think Alabama will cover this game. Florida may put up points, but I'm willing to believe Alabama's defense will stop Florida's offense, more so vice versa. So our own Patrick Dowd has got Alabama covering the 17-point spread here against Florida. I have it covering also. And I'm going to say this. Najee Harris, in SEC championships with Alabama under Nick Saban, the running back has always had the biggest performance, whether it was Glenn Coffey in 2008 despite a loss, Mark Ingram 2009, 2012 you had the tandem of Eddie Lacy, TJ Yeldon, 2015 Derrick Henry went off, 2016 Bo Scarborough, even 2018 Josh Jacobs was the offensive MVP. So under Nick Saban, the running back position's always been special here in the conference title game. Keep all eyes on Najee Harris. I think he's in for a big performance here. But folks, Alabama, Florida this weekend, Saturday, SEC title game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Looking forward to the matchup. Also, Tide Nation, you can check out the Touchdown Alabama Magazine live game day chat on YouTube. We have moved the live game day chat to YouTube, so check it out on tomorrow, to where you can chat amongst yourselves. You can also chat with your favorite members of TDA, whether it's Patrick Dowd, the man John Ivory, yours truly Stephen M. Smith, or our own Justin Smith. We're giving you an in-game, within-the-game feeling, within-the-game atmosphere. Check out the live game day chat for TDA on YouTube tomorrow for the SEC title matchup. But for all of us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, bringing you this game day preview, I'm Stephen M. Smith. And I'm Patrick Dowd.
And folks, you enjoy the game.